High school is very cliquey. You see people that you may not like or people that you may think aren't cool or up to your standards. But in theater, you have to put that aside. You have to put your ego aside, and you have to work with people that you may not like or people that you may not know and that you would never know if you weren't in theater. You have to be very open and very loving and accepting in theater for a good project to come out of it. So I think it really changed my perception on being friends with people that may be out of my comfort zone. People that are in band, people that are a little bit different, doesn't mean that you have to be mean or anything.
And mean towards them.
Exactly.
Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Zachary Alleccia, and we welcome you to our very first episode of the ZCAST. We are now officially underway with our first season, and many exciting things are to come as we head into our first episode of the ZCAST. We're here with a strong group of talented individuals as they take on the journey through a process of UIL one-act play. I'm here with Director Ryan Kirby and the cast of Lorena High School's 2024 one-act production of Elektra. The cast that is here includes several people, including our stage manager, Cynia Kelly, Sam Johnson, who will be on very soon, Willow, Quass, and Josilyn, Landry. Thank you guys for joining us today with our very first episode of the podcast. How does it feel to be on a podcast? Is any of this your first time? Or
I love podcasts, so I'm excited to be here.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's great.
That's cool.
First time.
Awesome, cool.
Yeah, first time.
So we're going to start right away, Mr. Kirby, so we can get you going here.
Yeah.
Really quick, you are brand new to Lorena, more than just about 2 years now.
Yes.
And so, when did you ever feel like you were going to be a Lorena theater teacher?
Yeah, I've actually been here for about a year and a month, so not very long.
Mm-hmm.
But I never thought I'd be coming back to Lorena just because when I was in high school, it wasn't the most fun place for an artist to be. Definitely, Lorena is a community that has a lot of different priorities, I feel, than theater, as maybe you all could agree with. And so I never thought maybe I would be coming back to that place just because I could envision it being a big challenge for somebody who makes art like their number one priority. Nonetheless, I think it's even more important that I'm here because art is so important to me and theater is so important. So I'm being able to be that for kids who need it and can prove to them you can still be successful without having to do the things that everyone else might want you to do.
Of course.
Does that make sense?
And yeah, of course. And so we know, all of us know here at Lorena that you are part of Silent House Theater Company in Waco.
Right.
You've also directed several shows now for Silent House also. Now this also leads me up to now, what made you want to get into the theatrical worlds and being on the big stage?
Basically, I just think I'm good at it, and that is a natural thing I feel like I'm talented at. I think we all have things we're good at, and sports was not one thing for me. Math was not that thing for me. Science was not that thing for me. I would say I was always more of history, English, and theater. And so I've always not really had stage fright. Or the word shame has never been a part of my being. I've never had shame about anything in my life. And I think that's something that's really helped me be an actor and a director is because you have to not have any of that when you go onto the stage because it inhibits everything you do. And so I think the not having the presence of shame has really helped me as a creative, especially a performer. Does that answer your question?
Yes, of course, yeah. And so, through the theater students of Lorena, how do your views on Mr. Kirby over the past coming years, and you're good, how things have been different? Lorena's gone through several directors now. What does Mr. Kirby put on the table that changes you as an actor?
Definitely a lot of hands-on stuff. We used to do a bunch of online presentations and stuff, and now we're able to do physical warm-ups and physical activities instead of just stuff online, which is really nice.
That's cool. And so, Mr. Kirby, this now leads me to a good question I wanted to ask you in the first place. Compared to you, what was your worst production you've ever put on, and what was your most successful production you put on? If you don't want to answer it, I understand.
It's already immediately. The worst show I ever put on was probably Stephen Sondheim's Company. It was the first musical I ever directed, and I was working with a lot of adult actors, and it was my first time working with adults who were much older than me. Usually I direct college students or kids, and so I was working with people who were in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, and they were established people in the theater community, and also we had terrible mics, and I simply just didn't really care for the musical very much, but I was asked to do it as a favor for Silent House, and so I ended up doing it, but I don't think that it was very good. Like, I don't know, you gotta like love what you're. I think when you're a director, you gotta love the show you're putting on,
Of course.
which is why I'm usually don't do musicals because I'm traditionally not a big fan of them. But we persevered, and it was fine. So there could be worse things.
Of course.
And then my best show was definitely my senior thesis in college called Botticelli in the Fire, which was a creative retelling of Sandro Botticelli's creation of The Birth of Venus, and it was just a really amazing production with lights and dance and sound and fun. So I hope to replicate that a little bit with Elektra. It's a similar vibe, and the way I'm working with the choreography of the chorus is similar to the way I worked with the choreography of the ensemble in that show. And so that is something that I recognize, I have a knack for, so I'm trying to find similar ways to revive that through this production of Elektra.
Of course. Now, that does actually lead us to the next thing. Would you please explain to us all here, including on camera and on Spotify and more areas, what is Elektra?
Yes, Elektra is a modern retelling of the classic story of Elektra by Sophocles, in which we see the pivotal character Elektra go through the death of her father by the hands of her mother. And in this modernized retelling, we also have her in a mental institute, which is a little bit of a social statement on mental health and hospitalization. And I have a dear friend of mine who actually was in a mental hospital when I was in high school, and she was here at Lorena too, and she was gone for a couple weeks, and that was a really traumatizing event, mostly for her, but also for her friends. And so it's a little close to home with that. And within Elektra, there's also the 6-person chorus. We've made it 6-person. It could be whatever number we want, but we chose on 6 people who kind of are a multi-faceted group of people who denote not only Elektra's mental state, but also the political ramifications of the time and consciousness and just fun and creativity. Like the chorus can just kind of be whatever we want it to be, which is how usually the green team tended it. So that's a lot of fun. And then, hopefully by the end we will see if Elektra gets her revenge.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds like an interesting story. And I mean, you guys cannot miss this wonderful production Lorena High School is putting on. Now, this does now lead me up to now, Mr. Kirby. This goes to the students now. Your views on other one-act shows you've done in the past. How does Elektra compare to the other ones? And is this a serious... What is the differences that your leading processes like? For example, remember we did Tenor, which was a comedy, and then we did Crimes of the Heart, which was a comedy / tragedy-ish. But what does now lead to Elektra? It's a whole different animal of theater. What is your opinion on it?
Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Honestly, I'm really excited about it because it's something different and it's just a lot more like tragic, and I feel like we can really just like go with the deep emotion and just like tragedy of it. And I just think it's a lot more like fun in a way because of that, because it's just really like such a deep, and there's so many like, symbolic things you can tie into it that just kind of adds to the show.
Of course. And so now, Mr. Kirby, Lorena has done so many theater productions in the past, has gone through so many different struggles over the past couple of years now. What do you feel like you have enough support for the program, funding, or to achieve your goals for the theater program, or how do you want to go forward?
I don't think I'm able to express my true feelings on the subject matter on a public podcast, but if you would like to discuss that one-on-one, Zachary Alleccia, I'd love to discuss my feelings on funding and budget and support. But I think that I get enough for where we are in the community, and I think that we have done great things with the support we've gotten, and I don't think we would be where we were without our support, but I also imagine if we got even more.
You are the stage manager of Elektra, correct?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. And is this your first stage managing time for a one-act show, or have you done more?
I have never stage managed for another one-act show, but I did stage manage for our fall play, which was Clue.
Okay, that's amazing. And so that does go into it. The production of Elektra from things you participated in, how does this compare to Clue?
There's, I feel like, very big differences because the props for Elektra is a lot more, like, simpler, whereas Clue, it was a lot more, like, chaotic, and there was a lot of, like, set pieces going on, and there was just kind of a lot more stage stuff that I had to really, like, focus on, whereas Elektra, I can kind of pay more attention to the actors and, like, the specific blocking for them, rather than just, like, having to kind of take on all of that, and I still do. But I feel like Elektra, I kind of have more time to focus because the set doesn't change a whole lot, and we can kind of
just put our focus on like the different pieces of the set itself.
Of course. And so, obviously, you say that, or you went from between Clue and Elektra, the differences of that. You know, one is a heavy prop show compared to another one that's more settled back and relaxed. So what are some challenges that might, I don't know, like a stage manager have to face going into UIL or going into other shows? What are like things they have to face in order to be successful at their job and to help benefit the actors?
I feel like some problems like to face is definitely like getting lines down and things like that. I feel like that's probably one of my bigger concerns, just to make sure that we're saying them right and we're saying them at the right time, and we aren't like kind of fumbling a whole lot on stage, which I mean like actors have been doing like a really good job with that and like getting feedback and things like that. And I feel like another problem, which I mean is something that just like comes with one act, is just like the pressure on time and things like that, and making sure that it's, you know, under 40 minutes and it doesn't exceed that.
Of course, and now as a stage manager, you are backstage keeping an eye on the time, making sure the show doesn't run over, and you are the one that makes the call correct if the show does go over time, correct?
Yes.
All right. So could you please tell me, does that have pressure on you yourself, or does that have pressure on the actors? How do you, like, if maybe during the show the actors are wondering what time it is, you kind of like just kind of keep them away from that and not let them worry and focus on that?
Yeah, because like the thing is like you're back there and like it's hard because like you're the one that has the knowledge on the time, but like you just want to like you have to trust the actors and like have faith in them that they can like do their job and like get it done in the time that they need to get it done, and just like not fumble a whole bunch. Because I just like want to like keep that, you know, separate from them so they can just focus on doing their job. But also it's hard because, you know, I mean, we've only done like one full run as of now, but as like the time goes on and we do more, I'll be able to get like a grasp of like where we need to be at certain times, and I'll kind of keep note of that. But it's always like hard because if I'm going to be backstage like on that day, it's like I have the time right in front of me, so I'm going to be seeing that, and I'm going to be seeing like where we're at and like kind of compared to.
Okay, the key to a successful performance is having a strong production and story with connectable characters, with maintaining a goal and entertaining audiences. What is your opinion on Wheel on One Act and the ads it puts pressure on time and having your view on? What is your view on competing?
I think that theater, I don't think as an art form is meant to be competitive, and so I don't know if you guys would agree with this, but I think that it forces a certain type of show to be produced. 40 minutes is not a long time, and there's also casting limits and there's tech limits. Like, we can't have some things on stage. There's only so many lights we can have, and so I don't know. It's weird because I don't think, like, at its core, theater should be competitive. It should be about storytelling, and I think that whenever we put it into the one-act play UIL competition, some of those storytelling elements get lost, and it's instead about how can we make sure that the judges like, and like that to me is weird, and I just don't like the limits it puts on it. So I don't know. I don't like one-act season as much as just a traditional fall play.
Of course. Awesome. And Mr. Kirby, I appreciate your time here. Thank you for stopping by.
I wish I could be here more.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm already breaking the rules.
Thank you. Now, Cynia, this helps me wrap up for your great community of good students and good teachers. And hello, thank you. You are playing young Elektra, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. And so this is your sixth production, correct? Mm-hmm. And so how does it feel to be part of a UIL competing team?
It feels nice. I've done it a couple times before, but this time it's a lot harder because of the play we're doing. It's a lot more tragedy-based, and I've more done comedies, and so this one's definitely different, but it's been a lot of fun.
Do you think it's challenging?
A little bit, yeah.
In what ways do you think, like, challenges, like maybe obstacles that you may face as an actress?
Mainly just, like, focusing and making sure that I'm on task and not getting distracted or, like, laughing at stuff that happens on stage.
Yeah, of course. And like I know you told me that you used to do a lot of stuff backstage for like maybe musicals. I remember you were part of Adam's Family. You helped a lot with costuming and makeup and stuff for Adam's Family. Mm-hmm. And now, what's the difference between, in your opinion, on performing on stage in front of a whole bunch of audiences to compare to being backstage?
It is so different. I think they're both the equal amount of hard and like challenging. Backstage, I feel like that was more fun for me because I like doing costuming. But acting was like a different type of fun for me because I also really like acting, and it's just been a lot of fun this year.
Of course. And so, obviously, the difference between having backstage and being on stage, you have so many challenges that you have to face. Everyone faces challenges being on stage, especially if you did a musical. And so, as you went on stage and did your things you were supposed to do, it feels different to you, right? Being as an actress on stage compared to being backstage. How does that help? Like, how important is being backstage help the actors out? Do you like in necessarily needed terms? Do you need someone backstage for the actors? Does the actors need someone backstage to help them?
Usually, yes, because with Adam's Family, we had so many costume changes and like makeup changes that just costuming wasn't enough to be backstage. We had to be multiple people. I had to do lots of different tasks. We did props, makeup, costumes, everything.
Of course. And so tell us about your character, Elektra. Tell us a little bit more who she is in this life, and how are you going to portray her?
So I play the young version of Elektra whenever she's a child, and she witnesses her father's death right in front of her eyes, and he was killed by her mother, which she thinks, and now she's just traumatized for the rest of her life, and it's just kind of messed with her and stuck with her for the rest of her life.
And so how does this compare to like other characters you've played in the past before?
Definitely very different. I've never played a character that's so traumatized, and like usually they're like nonchalant and like whatever character, and this one's so different. But it's a lot of fun to play. And
that's good. And I know you have Nathan as your kind of like playing young Orestes, and you guys have a good bond with each other as friends, and you guys are friends outside of the production. Does that help you guys create that like brother and sister connection better? Do you think that?
It definitely does. Being close in real life definitely helps.
So you think that being part of a cast, you guys should be good friends, get to know each other, maybe acting would flow maybe better? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool. And so now I want to ask you, where do you see yourself as a senior? So put your shoes into a senior right now and say that you're heading into your senior year in the Lorena Theater Department. What do you want to accomplish, and what do you want to go further from there? Do you want to continue to pursue theater, or do you have other interests?
For senior year, I definitely want to do the musical or the play in the fall, and then UIL one act in the spring. And I want to do both of those. I don't think I want to do theater outside of high school, but I want to continue it all the way to senior year.
That's awesome, and I appreciate your time. And now we do move to our light technician, Josilyn Landry. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm so good.
That's good. You're good. And so I know we weren't able to have Tyler Boone with us. He might actually be able to come on later. But the biggest thing is, have you ever seen yourself as an actor on stage, or are you seeing yourself more like the tech guru type?
Like whenever I was in 7th grade, I was in an acting class, and I loved doing it, but I didn't want to be on stage. Mm-hmm. And so I begged the teacher to let me do lights, and she said I could, and I've been doing it ever since then.
And do you feel like you're a big part to the Lorena program?
I'm the only person that knows how to do it.
Definitely. So let's say you're a senior, you're graduating. Who's going to take that next step going towards to be that, filling in your shoes going forward?
Probably the current spotlight, Lucas Cash. He's super good.
That's cool. And so, how does the dynamics of being in UIL 1 Act? You're going to different schools, learning out these different tech things. Have you ever been in a situation where you're like, I do not know how to do this? And you might have maybe struggled your way going to a new school to compete for 1 Act?
Not really. Like, at different schools, their light boards are different, but I can usually get the hang of it pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. It just kind of comes, easy. The only, hard thing that I've ever faced is that we had to shut down the show for And a Child Shall Lead. And that's,
Do you remember the time on that?
59 minutes and some seconds.
Woo! That is a really tight time.
Not 59.
39:58. No, you're good.
Y'all got it.
39:58, which, if anybody didn't know, stage manager, you can tell it's 40 minutes.
Very close, yeah.
And so the max you can't, with UIL 1 Act, you cannot go over 40 minutes for your show. So you have a 7-minute setup, 40 minutes to do your show, and a 7-minute teardown, which, tearing down is the easy part. But getting that times down, I remember we did with Jennifer Paden. We used to be one of our old theater directors, and we had the closest time we've ever had, also with just getting our setup, and you can remember tenor. So now let's put the views in tenor. Did you feel like tenor was, how would you put yourself in tenor? Was it a productive thing for you? Did you learn new things in it?
I really enjoyed tenor. Like, it was very successful with, like, the people watching it. A lot of people thought it was very inappropriate for people our age, which I kind of do agree. I see where they're coming from. But I liked it. It was pretty good.
And that's cool. So do you ever see yourself, pursuing the technical theater world, or do you have a hobby maybe that you're interested in the future?
I mean, if it takes me there, I don't really mind it. I would like to pursue a career in psychology. Okay. But honestly, it's whatever.
So now this does let me ask you this question. Does one act actually benefit you as a person? Did it change you? Did it make, is it a life-changing experience? Should others out there give it a try and see if they like it?
Yeah. If you're interested, go ahead. There's not really much to lose. I feel like it does help set you up for the real world, because honestly, the real world is just one big competition. You're trying to beat other people to make it. Which sounds really bad, but it's the truth.
It is the truth. And Josie, how long have you been how long have you been in theater? How long has it been in your life for?
6 years.
Okay. What was your first show?
And a Child Shall Lead.
And a Child Shall Lead. And so you've always done theater ever since at Lorena. Have you ever done theater outside?
No.
And Willow, have you ever done theater outside? Cynia?
No.
And so, what would it be? If you did pursue theater outside, do you think you would maybe enjoy it, or do you think it would you might not be interested in it? Would you want to take that leap to do that?
I honestly would. I think it would be very fun to either be SM or ASM for a production that's outside of school, because I feel like that would be a lot of fun, and honestly, I already have some experience from here, and it would just be cool to kind of be in a more professional setting.
And so, with all three of you here, how have you seen the Lorena Theater program obviously change in these past 3 years? What is your views on it? I mean, obviously there's been ups and downs, but has the group always stayed together and always pushed forward on to making good quality theater?
I think we have. Obviously we've lost some people, but generally we're mostly the same group. We've kept our talents growing, I guess, and
everyone knows each other.
And
the high schoolers know the middle schoolers.
And that builds a good connection, though. And so, the differences between middle school one act and a high school one act are huge. Yeah, obviously, you can keep going, but what memories have you built out of one act?
A lot.
A lot of good memories.
Yeah.
So
it's one group of people traveling together to competitions and working together over months.
I remember we had some breakdowns in tenor a couple of days right before area. Was it the night or 2 nights before area? We had some interesting things, but the thing is everybody knows how to turn on that switch and go on that stage and put on a good show. And so obviously we've gone over several times where we discussed where we also obviously had a director change. So Mr. Kirby, what are your views on him? I mean, obviously comes into Lorena new. His views compared to past teachers, do you think he puts good quality theater for you guys? And do you think that he is the best theater teacher you could ever have and ask for?
Yeah, honestly, yes.
Yeah.
Definitely yes.
And he brings good environment, correct?
Yes, he's so awesome.
And that's the biggest thing in a theater teacher. I mean, you want to have that good environment. You want to have that good connection with kids. I mean, sometimes I remember we would used to just go and hang out in the theater classroom and hang out with the teacher. I mean, they're more of a family to you, right? So that does now bring it. Do you take the theater, a theater production and the cast that's in there as family?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Willow, what was your number one favorite theater memory that you've had? What would you say your favorite? I mean, if it's cringy, it's cringy. But what would you say?
Definitely not the 12-hour lock-in that we had.
Ooh.
Definitely not. It would probably. Oh my gosh. Okay, we went almost overtime for when I did Lafayette number 1 in 8th grade. It was 3 seconds or something under. It was it was crazy because everyone backstage was like, guys, hurry up. And actors on stage were like, ah. It was so bad.
And so that puts pressure on you guys, but
You made it, though.
But you made it though, and you guys got first place. And so, and now, what is your view on competing? Like competing in theater or anything? Like, what is your views on competing?
I really like competing. I do think that a lot of the rules, like I said, are very limiting to what can be done. But I think it's a good experience. Like, it's UIL, so...
Yeah, and I think it's, like, really fun, because I think it adds, like, just another element and kind of, like, adds, like, another kind of energy that it's like, oh, like, we want to be really good, and it kind of adds, like, motivation to the show.
I mean, and that's great. The best thing is cast bonding. We've having cast parties, building that relationship with them. And I mean, that's what builds a good cast. And I mean, so far in the cast of Elektra, do you think we have a good, solid cast and everyone gets along very well?
I would say so, yeah.
And so now this goes into UIL. On your views on going forward, what would be something you would tell a cast, someone out in like our school at Lorena? What would you tell them about Elektra if they were asking about it? Would you even bring up UI at one act? Would you, or anything about competing, or would you just stay with, hey, come check out our show, come support us? How would you pursue that to them?
I would probably like mention like one act and say like, oh, this is like what we're using to compete, so then like they can kind of see that like serious like theater can be like a serious thing and it can be like competitive. And it's not like it's just, put on a show for fun. Like, we're actually going against, like, other schools doing other shows.
And so, outside of Elektra itself, other things that theater's done in high school. So, example, Thespian Festival. Immediately, Josilyn laughs. I mean, Thespian Festival is a great experience. If you're in theater and your theater director has never heard about Thespian Festival in your state, you really should go. It's a lot of fun. And so... what have you learned at Thespian Festival? Is it something that you worth like always going to every year?
Oh yeah.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, there's like you get to like meet other people and like there's little like workshops that you can go to. I mean, like I went to a stage manager workshop and I like learned some like new skills that I could use like for this like one act. So
of course.
Yeah, it's really good. I think it's a great experience.
That's really good. And so theater in itself is like, you got to put your shoes into it and you got to see it. I mean, a lot of students that are not theater kids don't know what it is and the techniques used to be an actor because they see somebody on stage just performing, but it's completely different than it actually is. There's a lot more that goes into being an actor or an actress on stage compared to being an audience member. So, for example, when our school scenes our show this year, when they see Elektra, what do you think their views and opinions are going to be on it? Do you think that it doesn't matter to you, or do you think that you're going to have a strong basis and strong support behind your school's going to be nice and supportive for, future competing?
Honestly, like, I'm not 100% sure on, like, what, like, students in the school are going to think. I mean, I know for sure, like, they're going to see that this is, like, definitely something that's different than, like, what we, like, have done. Because, I mean, like, Crimes of the Heart and Clue, like, they were kind of all comedic, and this is, like, kind of our first, like, tragedy in a while. So it's a very serious show. So I think people are going to be, like, a little, like, surprised, but also, like, interested to kind of see, like, how it plays out.
Of course. And so Mr. Clemens even told me he's excited. We're going to go to state. The view opinion on going to state. Have you always thought about wanting to go to state for theater?
Yes.
If you did, let's say we are in our regional round and we have the chance to go into state, how much does that mean a lot to you? Would you put your heart and soul into it? Even if you like for example, it's a Saturday, spring break rehearsals or something coming up, would you sacrifice your time to go work on Elektra to get it to go even further?
Yes.
And competing at state is a huge task. And I mean, it can be done. It's done last time in Lorena. I think it was 2019 or maybe younger than that. I'm not for sure. But if Elektra did go to state, what would your views be on it? Would you obviously the whole school would be behind you, Mr. Clemens, Miss Mordecai, and a whole bunch of other people would be behind you supporting the Lorena Theater. And when you guys get that send off to go to it and that feeling of going there and then having to wait for awards and things, the whole process. How does it feel compared to doing all your hard success, even if you don't advance? You know you put on a good show. Like, what is all three of yours opinions on if you didn't win, did you put on a good show, or do you think, what is your opinion on that? Are you encouraging? How do you feel towards that?
Yeah, it's like as long as like we like did our best and like did anything, like everything in our ability and like things like that, like I would be proud. And you know, even if we didn't make it to state, like I would still be proud of the cast and the crew for just like sticking with it and working really hard.
Honestly, for me personally, winning isn't like the biggest thing. Obviously, I would love to win, but if we don't make it, I'll still be happy for everyone that's in it. I know that they'll put their best foot forward in doing it.
Well, I mean, if we don't make it, then it's oh well. But I feel like we're still going to have made lots of memories and have gained experience from what we've done, so.
If you were to move to a different school, for example, like Midway, how would that change the view of like theater compared to you from Midway to Lorena? I mean, you're not at Midway Theater, you don't know what it's like, but how would that transition make you feel?
I feel like it would be a lot, because like I feel like there would be a lot more going on, because like there's obviously going to be more people in the theater department at like a bigger school, and so I feel like it would just be like maybe not necessarily more chaos, but like a lot more just like kind of competition, like especially like actors and like roles and stuff. Like it would be a lot more like competitive and just like, you know, you definitely have to maybe not necessarily work harder, but definitely like kind of, you know, go against other students.
And so the big thing now also is, guys, districts coming up. You guys, March 18th and 19th is less than a month away. Today's what, the 21st? Less than a month. Are you guys in a good spot? Where do you feel Elektra's at?
I think we're in a good spot, because, I mean, you know, we've gone through all the scenes. We've already done, like, a full run. We just need to, like, keep, you know, repeating repetition, and then I think we're good.
And so you also have school performances coming up March 1st. Is that correct?
Yes.
How many shows do you guys think you're doing?
I would say
7 or
probably
8?
not 7, well, maybe 6. I think 6 is a good number, yeah. Because we still need, like, our lunch break and then, you know,
need that.
yeah.
All right, and now we are here with Sam Johnson playing the character of Elektra, part of Lorena High School's 2024 UIL one-act play. Sam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Zach. How are you doing?
I'm doing as much as I can be, and we're going to get immediately into this. Sam, your journey through UIL, you've obviously done this since you were in 7th grade in middle school. You went through Miss Priest, and you went all the way up to where you are now at Lorena High School. You're 1 year almost out from graduating.
Right.
How does that pressure feel going into your senior year next year? Last year at Lorena, how does that make you feel?
I guess I mean I am a little bit sad about leaving Lorena. Like you said, like I've done one act play every single year since I could in 7th grade. This is my 5th year, and it's just, I mean, it's a little hard to think about that, like last year is going to be my last one act. But I'm also excited to move on and like be able to do more theater in the community and like continue outside of school. So there's pros and cons.
Of course, yeah. And so now this wants to lead us into share us some background information. Your background information on your theater experience. You've obviously been in many shows at Lorena. You've also done some outside activities. So explain to us your journey for first when you stepped on the stage to where you are now.
Right. So like I said, this is my 5th year, my 5th one-act show. My very first show ever, actually, was my 7th grade one-act, which was And a Child Shall Lead. I was cast as Yana, the younger sister. And funny story about that, but actually a few rehearsals before our competition date, I think it was like 2 or 3 rehearsals before our competition, I got swapped from the competition cast to the community cast.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't actually compete as that character that I had been rehearsing at, as
Of course.
I was a guard. And that was my very first OAP show.
And actually what was really funny about it too is I did get switched also from competition cast to community cast. And I remember, Sam, me and you were like, but we were kind of like partners as guards, right side of the stage or something. I don't remember. It was a long time ago, but I remember doing that one act. And I remember heading into that final moments of that show, realizing everything went black, and now noticing that we were like 2 seconds away from being eliminated. That was something, it was very scary. But go on what you were saying. Child Shall Lead was a big opportunity. What else have you also been involved in?
Well, the next OAP was Peter and Wendy, where I played Peter Pan. And then after that 8th grade year, I started doing theater outside of Lorena. So that summer of 8th grade, I did my very first community show with Wild Imaginings, which was Seussical Junior, which is a musical. I played Horton. That was a really fun experience, and that's kind of why I've continued doing theater outside of school. So then coming into high school, the past 3 years, I've done the fall show and OAP, of course, every single year. So, and then also shows outside. I was in Machianal with Silent House Theater Company pretty recently. I was also in, I think 2 Christmases ago, I did A Christmas Carol with Wild Imaginings. So I've been slowly building up the shows that I've done over the years.
Of course, and I mean, you are very successful at what you do.
Thank you.
You've been in several performances, you've had several leads already, and the art you put on stage is very fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Of course, and I've heard so many comments about your work, and I've actually admired some of your work. I feel like it's very, very unique and interact, and that does show the world is so big out there, and stepping into the world of theater, which we know is very competitive, this does get me to the question, outside in the big world, everything is very competitive, in order to get spots. Right. So with UIL One Act and tying into what I've asked the other people that were on the show, how do you tie OAP as being competitive and putting pressure on you? Do you see that that OAP pressures you, or do you see that it leaves an open gap for people to know more and learn and have better experience on competing?
I mean, there's definitely a difference between doing a show that you're competing with versus just doing a show that you're performing for an audience. I wouldn't necessarily say, at least for me personally, I don't think the pressure is any greater for either show, because regardless of whether I'm competing with a show, I'm still, giving the best I can, and I want to put forward the best show that I can. But OAP can be stressful, especially having to worry about getting in the time limit and then what place you're gonna get. So I can definitely feel that added pressure for OAP, but it's really not much different for me, I don't think, doing OAP versus shows outside.
Of course, and I mean, when I stepped into the first world of theater for I would say my first 2 years, it made me feel uncomfortable, but it made me feel something I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always done theater since I was in my first grade, and I remember going into my first ever one act, and I was like, this is a whole nother ball game from what I've learned when I was young. Of course, it's more advanced, and you learn more as you grow, but one act gave me something that was really interesting that, I mean, you might be able to tie into. It gave me a lesson learned on whether or not your mistakes, you can overachieve and put on a good show for audiences. So something I told Mr. Kirby earlier is that good work and good theater is done by having time and the energy for the audience reactions back. That's huge. It feeds the actors energy in order to go on stage and create a story and tell. So Sam, I leave this question to you. What encouraged you to audition for the production of Elektra?
Honestly, my answer to that is pretty simple, because I love theater. I love being in shows. I love watching shows. I love everything about theater. And doing theater through school is a big way to be able to do theater, because it's connected to the school, so it's easier than doing a community show to fit it in your schedule. So I just really can't imagine a year at school where I don't do the fall play or I don't do OAP.
OAP. And so going through those years, have you ever participated in musicals in middle school before?
No, unless you count over the summer of 8th grade as middle school.
Oh, okay, as middle school.
But that would be the only middle school kind of musical I did.
Of course, and so obviously your theater background and your history has improved all the way to now. You've faced many challenges and different obstacles as you've gone into high school. So tell us, what have you done to prepare for yourself for major roles in general? Not the role of Elektra, right? We'll get to that in a second.
Right.
But how to prepare yourself to going, let's say, for an audition. You go to audition for, let's say, Ryan Kirby's Elektra. or let's say Cats. You're gonna go out of any musical. You go to audition. What do you do? How does that affect your personality? What do you change and build yourself to go and audition for that?
To audition?
To audition, like how do
Okay.
you show yourself?
How do I prepare for an audition? Well, for a musical, of course, part of your audition is going to be a song or like an excerpt from a song.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, there's of course like the technical aspects of like working on the song and being able to sing it well. Mostly for auditions, I think the majority of auditions I've been in have been like open auditions where you're not auditioning for a specific role, you're just auditioning for the show. In my experience, anyway, that's what I've mostly come across. So I think it's really about just digging into whatever audition piece you're putting forward, whether if that's a song or like a monologue. What I kind of do is I really try to go over it as many times as I possibly can before an audition, because repetition is something that helps me a lot in roles. So going into an audition with a piece, as long as I've practiced it and like I've hit it a bunch of times, then I feel pretty confident about it. And of course I also try to be, just generally, I try to be more outgoing in auditions than I may be in my day-to-day life. Like I really try to go for anything, because that's a quality that is like important to actors. So there's that added element of, being polite and being respectful, but also being bold.
Of course. And so, which is really interesting, I wanted to tell you this, and this is my first time kind of telling my audiences this, how with me being involved in acting and theater, I don't know if you can relate to this maybe a little bit, but I always view going to school every day as a continuous story, or it's an ongoing thing. You have a season. Every episode you have a new chapter in your life.
Yeah.
So at every age you turn, you have a new chapter and stuff you can adventure in. And so going to school every day, meeting new people, it's like a TV show kind of like. It's really weird, but that's kind of how I view it.
I get it.
I view it as that, because there's all these, if you look at the life and you live around life, like just high school in general, there's so many things going on. It can show you, like, if as a person yourself, and you start taking that to the stage, you can actually tell a story throughout your life. I mean, everyone has something about them that makes them unique, special, and have interesting facts that make them who they are. And so when you bring that to the theater, that's how I show myself on theater. When I don't know how you feel, but when I go on stage for an audience, I feel it as this is actually, there's a story inside of a story, if that makes sense. So like, I'm already in the, like, not saying I live in a fantasy world. I live in a world that I can have this mindset of having all these cool abstract things in my mind and creating ideas, and going to show the audiences and what you can do and how others can benefit you and how to help others, and then putting that on the stage. I mean, we've gotten told, I remember me and you had Miss Paden before, and she told us how we need observe others and how they act and stuff. And so that leads me to now your acting techniques and your acting strategies. So have you ever felt that one day you would walk down the hallway in school, or you're in a class, and then maybe you start bringing your acting self out and build your own character for yourself? Like have you ever thought about, in band, for example, you create that as like a scene, like a theater scene. So have you ever thought about something like that?
I mean, I think so. Maybe not in school, but I definitely understand, putting on not a face necessarily, but
Of course.
altering your behavior a little bit depending on like who you're talking to.
Of course.
Like my mom, for instance, sometimes she'll take us to her work events, and I'll meet like her work colleagues and stuff. And I wouldn't say I hold back my personality, but I do kind of change up how I act, so I know like I'm not impacting my mom's job or anything.
Of course.
Or like in certain classes, like I know teachers will allow different stuff, or like they're cool with different stuff. So I can definitely see like changing your behavior a little bit to fit in with your environment. Yeah.
Of course. And so now this all ties back to, obviously you're building this character, you build your character for, when you go to audition, showing your acting abilities. So how did that lead up to Elektra? So tell us how do you prepare yourself for this major role, Elektra, this 20-year-old who is going through so much. How does it personally tie to you and affect you, and how does it go onto stage, and how do you represent that?
How does Elektra affect me? Well, for Elektra, it's honestly, it's been kind of difficult. I would say Elektra is probably like the most difficult part I've had as far as like dramatics and like heavy like dark emotions go, because it's it is a pretty dark play.
Of course.
And I would say it's the first time I've done a show that's like this dark recently. Of course I did, And a Child Shall Lead, which was a very dark show, but I was in middle school. That was my first show. That wasn't really, I didn't dig into that role as much as I could have. And now with Elektra, I'm having to kind of change up the way I think, because Elektra, I feel, is a very hurt character, and a lot of that hurt comes through in anger. Like, she lashes out at people, which is something like, personally, I try really hard to avoid doing. I don't like being angry. I don't like when people are angry at me. So I try very hard never to get angry. I try not to yell. I try to keep my voice level. I'm not perfect, but I do my best. And Elektra is not like that. She yells. She throws a fit. She really just expresses herself like completely and fully. She really communicates that pain that she feels for her father's death. And it's been difficult for me to do that because it's just like so extremely outside of how I try to hold myself. So to prepare for that, usually what I do is a whole lot of script work. I'm kind of a script-based person. I'll write all over my script everywhere. And I've done that for all of the shows. But for Elektra, it's been a little different. There was some problems getting our scripts at the start, but I've been finding it easier for this role to just like feel it out on stage, and instead of deciding how I want to say a line, just like seeing how it comes out in the moment. And I've found more success on stage that way, I think.
Of course, and every good actor finds ways and strategies to help benefit themselves to connect to their character. Yeah. And so a big thing that we mentioned earlier is that theater's like a family. You're like a group of people at a family, and you bring all your characters together like a family. And you got to build those connections and those relationships with each characters to make sure people in the audience understand that. And so this does tell me, Sam, is that when others watch our show, it's something Lorena hasn't done in a while, and we have this is our kind of like, maybe I would say kind of close to our first time kind of adventuring into this type of world of, Greek tragedy going into one act. Where do you see the show going for it? What is your opinion on it? Where do you want it to go, and how do you want it to be successful?
I really do think that this show is going to turn out to be a good show. We've started doing like full run-throughs now, and I think that's going to really help. I think that's my number one thing like I want to do, is to just try and do like the whole show all like without stopping at all, just over and over and over again. And I think I want this show to be good, of course. And I think we're going to get there. I really do think I have high hopes for this show, and I think it's going to be very good. And I think people are going to enjoy it because it's different than shows we've done in the past. Especially, the past 3 years. I think about the fall play and the one acts we've done the past 3 years, and I think they've all been comedies.
They've all been comedies,
yeah. Legally Blonde Jr., and then Lenny and Tenor,
and then
Addams Family, and then Crimes of the Heart. That's 4 comedy shows in a row. And then this fall we did Clue on stage, which is a comedy.
Which is a mix, yeah. And so
5 comedies in a row.
The last one we done was actually COVID era. We did Triangle, and it was about a shirtwaist factory and how these workers were working in there, and the whole factory burned down. But it is very dynamic in its ways in its show, and how everything fits together, and how successful Elektra can be, and how all the pressure is on you, but you zone that out and you focus on yourself and you focus on bringing this cast together. You are the major role. And so, Sam, after you graduate high school, do you want to pursue the theater arts? Do you want to go to college for it? Do you see yourself continuing the theatrical Sam and the career that we see now?
Absolutely. I definitely want to continue theater into my adulthood. I don't know exactly like what form that's going to take as far as college goes. Like, I really just have no idea. But I definitely want to do shows into my adulthood in the community. I would love to work with, Waco Civic, and I would really love to do shows with Silent House Theater Company again, which is the company our teacher, Mr. Kirby, is in. I know that they produce some really high quality stuff, so I would love to work with them. And I want to do theater just like as long as I can in whatever way I can. Maybe I'll do some tech stuff. Maybe I'll work backstage at some point.
Of course.
Maybe I'll act. I really don't know. But whatever form it takes, I'm going to do theater, continuing onward.
And theater is an animal to deal with, but it is an animal to deal with, but it all comes successful in the end, and it puts on great performances for others to enjoy. Sam, thank you so much for sitting down today with us here at the ZCAST. All right, and now we're here with Tyler Boone. How are you today, Tyler, and how's it going?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. I'm having a fantastic time, and I'm ready to answer some questions.
Awesome. It's great. Obviously, you've been part of One Act for a long time now. You've done it, I don't know if you've done it since middle school, but you've obviously ventured it into high school. So let's start here. How did your theater journey start, and what inspired you to be involved in the theatrical world?
Yeah, so what kind of got it started for me was I was a kid, and my grandma, she lives in this plantation, so it's this big neighborhood, and she has these traveling theatrical pieces that come to her neighborhood every year. And I would think I was 10 or 11, and she asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I thought, I've never been in a show before. I've always loved, film acting. I've always loved people in movies, and I've always, even since I was a little kid, wanted to be an actor. So I was like, well, if I'm gonna practice what I preach, I have to, you have to do it.
You got to put good theater out there for an audience.
I've got to put it out there, exactly. So I auditioned for the part, and I got the main antagonist, which was Princess and the Pea.
Oh, cool.
And it was like, it wasn't the typical Princess and the Pea. It was like a weird adaptation to it, but I got the main antagonist, which was Jack Frost. So yeah, and it was great. I had a little 3-minute song I had to do by myself, a single. So it was very scary for my first time acting, but it really did help me.
But it builds you as an actor
Exactly.
to where you are now.
Yeah, it helped nurture me into the actor that I am today, and helped me put myself out of comfort zones. In life, you have to be able to step out of your comfort zone, and I think acting in theater itself helps you to get out of that comfort zone a lot of the time. So that's really how it started, and then I just started doing more as time went on, and eventually in high school I fell in love with it even more. So,
and of course, and I know One Act is a very complex competition other than other UIL sports.
Right.
So how have you seen your acting range develop from when you started theater and getting on the big stage to where you are now? I mean, One Act changes everybody.
Exactly.
It changes your ability to act, your pressure on time, and putting out good theater while you're under that pressure. So explain to me, have you seen your acting range develop as you've gone on through high school in the Lorena Theater Program?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would say freshman year, you and I were a part of the lovely production of Triangle,
of course.
which was what it was.
It was
a good show. It really was. Unfortunately, it didn't go very farther than it wasn't as far as we thought we were going to go. But it was a great learning lesson. It was my very first competition type thing in high school. So it was fun because it was something new. And I also got to try out a different character. Normally I'm a pretty nice character for the most part. I play a nicer character, but I was probably the meanest character in the whole show.
Of course.
And I kind of had to, it was difficult to be kind of mean and that kind of stuff. So it was challenging, but it did challenge me. And I think I rose to that challenge. I think our show was great. Jennifer Paden was the best director for that show. I loved a lot of the things that she did. And as time went on, the year after that, we did one of my favorite one-act shows, which was Lend Me a Tenor. And it was so fun. I was the lead, and it was challenging, because I've always kind of had a minor part. So I had to learn all these lines, all this blocking, and you had a whole bunch of lines too and a whole bunch of blocking to
Playing
do.
a character, his name was Saunders, and he was uptight, rules, fall by the rules, and catching his daughter
Exactly.
doing miscellaneous things.
Exactly.
And I think our school enjoyed it and loved it. Obviously, there's some little bit of interesting things that happen in that show, but the thing is, as a farce as it is, we put out good quality theater out there.
Exactly.
And a lot of people don't know, but we got a standing ovation in that area.
We did. It felt like Broadway.
It
was
felt
crazy.
like it was completed.
Everybody was laughing. Everybody was having a good time. Even Kevin Johnson, who was our former principal, even booked our hotels for the next what's after area
regional rounds heading into College Station.
Going to regional, and unfortunately we got robbed. I think that we should have went on, but that's just my opinion, I guess. But
Yeah, of course.
it definitely was a huge show that built me up acting wise, and now being a senior and doing Elektra, I'm kind of back at being kind of a smaller role, but it gives me more time to really focus on my character and his background and kind of who he is and who he focuses on and his objectives and stuff. And I think now it's come super easy. Like, I can't even tell you how many times Mr. Kirby, who's, our theater director for this show, he's told me, your skin looks great. Like, we don't need to work on it, blah, 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 blah. And it just feels good to, finally get to a place where he trusts my decision and my input and my intuition on the character. And he kind of just gives me free reign to do what I want. And so far it's been working great. He hasn't told me really to do anything other than what I've decided to do for my character. So definitely the pathways of high school have led me to become a better actor overall.
And it's a new experience. Developing characters on stage is a huge thing, and it's not saying it's a challenge for actors, but when you go on stage, you got to create your own character. You're playing that role, and you got to show the audience, what it is. And I mean, a lot of people don't know, but there's a lot more in theater than just going on stage and reading lines and performing.
Not everyone can do it.
I mean,
it takes a special person to do theater. You can't. Nobody in their right mind, no jock, nobody that's done theater now is never going to do it. They can't do it. They have too much. What's the word? They focus too much on how they look and how they appear to the audience, and especially if you're in theater. When you're a kid like me and you were, and a lot of people in theater now, they start when they're very young. They don't really care, that's just theater. But people, if they start late, you're never going to get it. It's very hard, very difficult, and
it's a challenge. If you're going to do theater, you have to put your 100% dedication and effort into it.
You cannot do half-ass.
So Tyler, I'm going to ask you this: what would you say is your most memorable moments when enduring theater or one act? So, what is one of your most memorable memories in one act?
I'll have to say probably the whole year of Lemmy and Tenor. That was one of my favorite times. We would have 3-hour rehearsals pretty much at least 4 or 5 times a week when we started getting into competition time. And normally people would take that as miserable, but I would be ecstatic to go to rehearsal. I'd be so excited because yes, we would redo the show over and over again, but as a cast, we bonded over that show, and we gained such a relationship all together, and it truly was something that I loved doing. And I would just say, obviously Miss Paden was very strong and very opinionative, but that's what made me love her as a director. She was crazy like we were crazy, and she me and her, I think me and you were probably the closest with her, and she loved us, and she, obviously we would have hard times, but she would always say, this is theater. You're going to have to deal with it, and you're going to have this in professional theater. You're going to have to deal with people you don't like, and you're going to have to figure it out. And that's what we did. And I think everyone after Lemmy and Tenor was a better person coming out of it, and better actors overall as well.
And so you would confirm and say that Lemmy and Tenor was probably so far your favorite?
Absolutely.
And did that change you as a person?
I would say it changed me because there were people that came into that show that I had never thought to really hang out with outside of school, because high school is very cliquey. You see people that you may not like, or people that you may think aren't cool or up to your standards, but in theater you have to you have to put that aside. You have to put your ego aside, and you have to work with people that you may not like or people that you may not know and that you would never know if you weren't in theater. You have to be very open and very loving and accepting in theater for a good project to come out of it. So I think it really changed my perception on being friends with people that may be out of my comfort zone. People that are in band or people that are a little bit different doesn't mean that you have to be mean or anything. You
And
can
mean towards them.
Exactly. You can be a better person.
And a
overall.
lot, and especially, this is not only Lorena, this is a lot of other schools too, is that it's not saying diverse or anything. It's everyone has their own talents. You have people that are in sports, you have people that are in band, you have people in theater. Now, when you get a 6A, if you're a theater kid, you're a theater kid.
Exactly.
If you're in band, you're a band kid, and if you're in sports, you're sports. It's so hard to work around a full working schedule. And a lot of kids these days, we're in school still, but they don't realize how much work, effort, and time and dedication it takes to go putting on a show.
Exactly.
And so, now, Tyler, I'm going to ask you, Elektra, you are now in your final one act of high school. Elektra is a whole different animal on stage, and it's a lot different than any roles you played. So give us some background on Elektra. What is the journey so far for you?
So Elektra is a very different show, like you said. We've done pretty depressing shows in the past, but I feel like this one takes a cake for being the most depressing show I've ever been a part of. Elektra, the main character, kind of goes through her mindscape a little bit and kind of realizes that either the audience can determine either she's having a psychotic break or she is being held at her own will. But the whole point of the story is that her father gets killed by her mother in front of her very eyes, and she kind of balances back and forth between the past and the reality, which the reality is she's in a psych ward. And it's a very sad show. You have to come see it to really understand the full grasp. It's very hard to explain without a script in front of me, but overall it's a very sad show. My character Orestes is her brother that has passed in the war. She's told this by the doctor who's taking care of her at the psych ward. Basically, the doctor told her that your brother's passed, your brother's not here anymore, and I think it really took a mental toll on her. And I come back to her kind of as this mystical angel being, higher being, and I come back to her and kind of in a dreamscape, and I tell her I love her. The revenge that she wants against her mother for killing her father is something that my character isn't interested in. He's moved on. He's kind of at peace with himself, and it's very difficult to play a character that loves someone so much, but at the end of the scene you have to be willing to let the person go, and it's very hard, like emotionally, for me to kind of do that over and over again, because when I act, I kind of put myself into the character. I can't. I'm not one of those actors I can just turn it off and be back to myself. Like, I'm playing Orestes in my real life when I'm on that stage. It's not Tyler playing Orestes. It's Orestes playing Orestes.
Exactly. And you fully commit to that character to make it realistic.
Exactly. And it's very challenging, but it's something that I really love to do. I only have like 2 scenes in the show, so it's really helped me focus more on what he is and who he is and what he wants to do. And yeah.
So, of course, yeah, and as the Lorena Theater program grows, you guys are heading into UIL, March 18th and 19th. 19th is competition day at Rockdale. You guys are competing against the 9 schools we mentioned earlier. How does that challenge you guys? Does that maybe put pressure on you guys, or does that only motivate you guys to put more and more and more dedication into the show?
I feel like this question may not be the best for me because I'm such a minimal role. Although I am a part of Elektra, the chorus, Elektra, those are the characters that are going to be tying the show together. Without those two, we're not going to have a show. So for me, I would say I'm not worried because I think my scene is great. I think my character is complete. His arc is complete in my mind. And I would say, I hope that everyone feels the same, but everyone has different opinions about if they feel like they're doing a good job or not. I think our chorus is very talented individuals in acting, and they're doing a great job, but they need to get together and they need to be more cohesive.
And they're facing more challenges than they have ever felt
exactly before. It's very hard to be an ensemble and be on point, snappy, all at the same time, especially in front of a judge when your nerves are shot, you're nervous, and you don't want to lose. Obviously everyone has a competitive spirit. I think, I'm pretty confident in my character. As the show pertains to the show, I definitely think we need to practice a little bit more to get to where we need to be.
And so, Tyler, you've gone through the journey with one act. You've been on that stage hearing those results. You've obviously advanced through the UIL system through one act. Now, we tie back this to the Lorena Theater Department. How have you seen it change over the past 3 years from the 3 or 4 shows you've been in?
Right.
Or, I mean...
It's been 4, but it's been 3 one acts and one in the fall. Yes.
And so, how has the Lorena Theater program changed in the past 3 years and your views on it? Did it build you as an actor to where you're going to go in college?
I would say it changed drastically. Obviously, we came in with Jennifer Paden leading the pack as the LHS director, and she was very different, she was a fantastic director and she's a fantastic person. I loved the way that she directed. She never really let you make your own decisions. She kind of told you, this is what I see, and she would tell us she'd have dreams about one act and about this scene, and we would just laugh it off. But I could see her having a dream about it because she's in love with, that's her passion, and she loves it. And
now she's 6A theater,
right? Exactly.
Teacher.
She's making it happen. She would tell us what to do, and we would do it, and it would be great, and it was fantastic. I think that was perfect for a beginning theater person, I guess, for me, especially in high school. I'm already nervous enough about other stuff like grades and other sports I was involved in. She kind of made it easy, didn't really make it. She gave us what she wanted us to do.
And where you want to go to the future with it.
Exactly. And then junior year, we lost our beloved Jennifer Paden to Miss Abigail Hobgood, who she was a great teacher, but I would not say, as someone who has been in theater for a lot of my life, I would say that she was not the best director. That's just my opinion. I hope that she's doing well now.
Of course, yeah.
I wish that she stayed. I wish that she, I at least got to see her direct. Her class behavior wasn't my kind of vibe for what theater is, but I think that's the beauty of theater. Theater is different to everybody, And
so she also had to teach prof comm and prof and communications.
That also could be very hard for a teacher. But the thing is I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Jennifer Paden had the same thing, and she made theater still. So I think, Miss Hopgood was very good at keeping us on task and giving us assignments, but I think as a theater teacher, she just lacked those key components to make a successful program. And that people may disagree, and that's totally fine, but I have nothing but respect for her, and I hope that she's doing well now. I know that she was going through a lot of stuff when she left last year, so nothing but respect for her, but I really didn't learn much when she was teaching as our director. That's just me. But after that, one act came around when she left, and Mr. Kirby, which is our current theater director, came
now, right?
And he was fantastic. He was like a ball of energy. It's completely different, and we did things that I missed about Miss Paden. Is we would do scenes, we would act things out, we would do games that would be beneficial to our acting abilities.
Yeah, and it grows as an actor.
Exactly. And obviously, one act last year was a huge letdown for me because I was given kind of like the backup role. Like if somebody got sick, I would stand in for them. And I felt, for me, and this was me being immature, and now that I've realized I've time to think about it, it's I thought I was better than that. I thought I was better than everyone. I thought that I deserved a part.
And put your time somewhere.
Yeah, I thought that I if I was gonna spend my time on theater, it needed to be me on the cast. So I told Mr. Kirby, there's no hate, no nothing, no ill will, but I'm not gonna be wasting my time on a production when I'm not in it. And that was me being an immature actor. When you're an actor, you have to be able, if you're signing up for a show, you've got to go full force at it. Whether you get a backup role or the main role, it doesn't matter. And that was something that I had to learn. And I'm glad Mr. Kirby was very graceful with me and, told me kind of like, this is not how it works in the real world. You're going to have to figure it out, and you're going to have to, you're not always going to get every role that you want. Right.
Yeah,
and that's just how the acting world is.
Works.
Exactly. So, I apologize to him about not being a part of One Act last year, but it probably wasn't the best time for me either. I wasn't in a best place last year. Junior year was probably the worst year of my high school. It was miserable. So I'm kind of glad that I wasn't a part of the show last year, even though I heard it was great. I heard it was a great experience.
And for the fact that we've only had, I don't know, maybe I might be wrong on this, but we had like maybe 4 or 5 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, it was very, very scrunched,
short,
very scrunched and short.
And we did it.
And you did it.
And we made it to by district, got alternate in by district. But
Absolutely.
The goal is always for a lot of us too, is to get out, at least get out of district.
Absolutely. And y'all did it.
And this is going to be different this year.
Right. We've had so much time to prepare and to prep, and we're ahead of a lot of other schools. So I'm hoping this year we'll take the cake for state. I really hope so. I think our show can make it there.
And so, Tyler, to individuals that are out there listening to this podcast right now on, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music Podcasting, and anywhere else, to an individual who's just being interested or wanting to start theater and they're listening to this, or like get on the production side of it, what advice would you give them? I
would say, for me, and you can take my advice, you don't have to. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not an A+ actor, obviously. I hope to get there one day. I would say if you have a dream, don't listen to anybody else. You know what your passion is and you know what you want to do in your life. You go for it. For me, my family, my parents have been very accepting of my choices and what I want to do, but there have been other people that have kind of given me some doubt. Like, this is not, you're not going to get there. You're not going to, you're not going to make any money. You have to hit that little spot for you to make that money and for you to be popular and be a celebrity. And to me, it's not about that. Obviously I hope to make it big one day. I'm going to Hardin-Simmons and minoring in acting and majoring in business. So all I have to say to people that, really want to have a future in acting, I would say just go for it. And if it doesn't work out, have a backup plan and do acting on the side. You don't have to do acting as your main job, but that's something that I'm really passionate about, and that's something that as soon as I graduate college, I'm moving straight to LA, and I'm gonna follow my dreams. And if it doesn't work out, then I have a business degree, a business major that I can get a job at right after. If I don't want to do it anymore, you know what I mean? So, and it's fantastic. You have a mindset and a goal where you want to go, but it's a very big challenge. Obviously, the biggest acting dream for any actor is to go to LA, New York. Mm-hmm. 2 biggest ones. Would you rather take the movie side production, or would you want to go right for Broadway? I would do movie. I am not a huge fan of stage acting. It's just something that I can't control. We don't have A+ celebrity cameras that we can film a scene with and film a movie. That's just not how it works. So as a younger, underdeveloped actor, you have to start on stage. You have to start somewhere. And I'm not going to move myself, leave high school and go start acting in LA without any experience, So I decided to stay here and decided to, do theater and see if I liked it. And I've grown to love it, but I feel like my abilities will be better off in a more subdued area of acting, which is, compared to stage, is film. You know, you can't overact like you do on stage on film. It doesn't look good. So I think for me, that's something that I enjoy a lot more. And that's something that I would rather do. I wouldn't, unless it was offered to me, I would never go and audition for a Broadway show. It just wouldn't be for me.
Of course, yeah. And Tyler, Lorena, you started off. I mean, you know, you moved to Lorena, and it was correct.
Eighth grade.
Eighth grade.
Yep.
And would you say Lorena ISD set you up to a good future to where you are going now?
Absolutely. I think, you know, the school is very loving. The teachers are, for the most part, amazing. They want you to succeed. They want you to, you know, have a future where you follow wherever you want to go. And although there have been certain things that have happened over my high school career that I wouldn't say is great, I would say overall, Lorena is the place to be if you want to follow your dreams, you know? And I would say now, especially me as a senior, like I want to leave. Obviously, I don't want to be here forever. But I would say I enjoyed my time here at Lorena ISD ever since I got here. And it goes by very fast. So you really have to enjoy it. Although you may not like coming to school, you may not like the teachers or the classes. You really have to enjoy your time with your friends, because sooner or later you're going to be going off in different parts of the world doing different things. You're never really going to see anybody again unless you really put that effort to after school, which most people don't do. Like everyone in theater, our seniors are going to be splitting off doing our own things now. Exactly. So
and it changes. I mean, it always changes. It's kind of like of course, it's a new freshman come up looking for a senior, and then your senior leaves, and so I think the Lorena Theater program has, for me, and then a lot of people other can say this too, has really benefited me for where I want to go in the future. And I feel like Ryan Kirby has done a successful job. He's fulfilled his job and duty as a theater director for me and for a lot of other students. And I think that Elektra is going to be, obviously, it's a new animal to work with. It's interesting. And I think we're trying something new. We'll see where it goes. But I do think the show is capable of going very far. And Tyler, once again, I thank you so much for sitting here today to talk about your journey and now going into your final show in high school and making it a memorable one.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me on and, you know, kind of asking for my walk of life and kind of figuring out, you know, where I'm going. And all I want to do is just, if people have any questions, just ask. And although it might be weird, I'm young and I'm not super successful yet, but I have a lot of things to say and a lot of things that I can help people with. So I appreciate you having me on and letting me use my voice too.
All right, and we are here with Jacob and Ingonwi. Thank you guys for joining us here on the podcast. How are you guys doing?
I'm just doing fine. How about you, Ingonwi?
Oh, I'm doing just great.
That is good. And so we have a lot to talk about here. Obviously, our next guest on the ZCAST podcast. Jacob, you've been in theater for so many years, or for a good amount of years now, and you're kind of in that world of theater. What led you to pursue theater, and do you want to continue that through high school and maybe further?
Well, for a while, I kind of resented theater. I thought it was kind of bad. I stuck to band, and I was like, oh, I'm going to stick to one thing. And then over the summer of my 8th grade year before high school, I did a musical, and I was like, which was actually last summer, and it was Oliver, and I met some good friends, and I was like, this is not that bad. So I've been pursuing it ever since then.
And so that's cool. And you've been in a lot of shows. You obviously but you're part of, what is the company in Waco again called?
Well, there are multiple companies. I'm part of one of the companies, Waco Civic Theater. You know, but it's kind of drama because our theater teacher, he runs a different company in Waco called Silent House, and they're like competitors, and so, but it's just there's no beef.
Yeah, and so now let's talk about that. So the difference between Silent House and Waco Civic Theater. How has Waco Civic Theater benefited you as an actor to where you are now?
Well, I've only been in one of their productions. I've been rejected from one of their productions, or not rejected. I got like the tiniest, like tree number 4 or whatever. But no, it's been fun to be a part of them because I mean, it kind of like it invoked my love of theater, I guess, that I didn't know I had at the time, and so I'm thankful for that.
And so now you, obviously, we tied this into one act. You've been in one act in middle school, correct? And what were those shows again?
It was called These Shining Lives, similar to Radium Girls.
Can you elaborate more on that experience, to where you are now? How was that overall?
Well, I'm hesitating because it wasn't that good. I think that was like not even in my like what would you say, theater era. It was like when like I'm gonna experiment with this weird new elective, and that's why I said I like resented it. I did not like one act, and like even doing one act now, like there's still like parts like when it gets exhausting or when the work gets hard, like I'm like, oh yeah, this is what one act was like last year. But still, I mean, I'm just glad to be a part of it.
And so would you say choosing that elective was the right thing to do?
I don't know. I know a lot of people who are like who did theater this year and who have been talented in the plays that are like, oh, I'm not going to take it next year because I need to be valedictorian or something like that. But I mean, for me, like it's fun. So it's an investment I want to make.
Oh yeah, of course. And so now we tie this to Elektra. Lorena's gone through several different directors now. Over the past 2 years, things have changed. Now we have Ryan Kirby now here from Silent House in Waco, and now we're doing Elektra, his first kind of official one act. I mean, he did direct the one act last year, but now he can actually dive in and has a lot of time to work on this. What is your view on your part overall? Because you are a part of a chorus. So actually, let's start there. Explain to us, what does it mean to be part of a chorus in Elektra?
So it was actually kind of funny because we already did our theater history unit like as part of the class. And we learned about the chorus, like we learned about ancient Greek tragedies, which Elektra is an ancient Greek tragedy. And like we learned that the chorus was usually a narrating group. They like carry the story along. However, that's like not really what it is in here. Like the chorus in Elektra, it's different. We represent the inner thoughts or the inner emotions, I guess you could say, of the main character Elektra. And so like my opinions about it, like it's a unique role. I'll probably never play something like it ever again. But not out of hate. It's so weird. Like I'm just kind of like, I'm gaslighting myself. They're doing all these weird things in the character, and they're multiple.
And I mean, you're diving into like some weird things you've never dealt with to build these chorus members. So for people that are going to see Elektra, obviously our school gets to see it Friday. The podcast will come out the next Saturday. The views when your actual other classmates in Lorena see it. I mean, they've seen shows over the years. This is our first tragedy in a long time. What is your opinion? Do you think people are going to enjoy it?
I will not be able to show my face. I think it's gonna, we crawl. People don't understand the art form of theater sometimes. But yeah, I mean, like it's weird. People are gonna laugh. People are gonna like poke fun. But, that's just like some people who aren't in the theater community do that. So it's all right.
Yeah, and I mean, Elektra is a different animal to work with, and now you're in high school. It's a competing level, so you advance on. I know judges they favor the Greek, or not the Greek tragedies, but they favor like the drama and the tragedy part of it than they do comedy. Do you feel like that is something that Lorena tends to favor comedies, or they favor tragedies more? What would you want Lorena to do?
Well, the Lorena audience, as in the people the teachers and the student body, they loved our past production of Clue. They like the comedy. The comedy's fun. But I personally like the tragedies more because I think they give you more room to grow to do more things as a theater company. I don't know.
And so tell us, you've been in Clue and you play the character of
Mr. Green.
Yeah, so tell us the experience of Clue of this earlier this year.
Oh, it was great. I mean, Mr. Green, I found him a character that it was just easily natural to play. He's a very anxious guy. He's very very clumsy. I thought that was really funny, and so it was easy to lean into the comedy aspect of him. But it's just kind of a thing. I'll never find another role like him, but that's okay.
And yeah, I mean, do you think the cast bonding and the cast overall was a good environment to be in?
Oh, absolutely, yes. I think like it's just like I'm already looking back. Like I already like went some fan cam edits. Like I like there. It was so like it was such a good time. Like it was like a group of 6 and like because like it was the 6 board game characters and like we all worked so well together. And you know some of the people are graduating or leaving theater, and so it's sad that we'll never have that again. But we're trying to build it back up. You know.
Of course, yeah. And so now as I close it out here, before we get into Ingonwi's part. Your goals moving forward. You obviously been in theater, you're doing Elektra. You are a freshman, if I'm correct, right?
Yes.
In high school, you're planning on staying through theater all the way through the rest of 3 years from now, correct?
I don't know about that. But I don't feel that way about all electives.
Uh-huh.
I kind of feel the same way about band. It's not like information I go to the teacher and tell them like this is a temporary thing, but it's more of like, oh, like I'm gonna do what I need to do to graduate, to get like good things on my resume, and that includes fine arts and my credits. And I enjoy it for now. So if I'm enjoying it by my senior year, then absolutely I'll stick it out for my senior year.
And we are now here with Ingonwi. Ingonwi, you've been part of Lorena. How long have you been part of Lorena Theater for a while?
No, I actually came to Lorena in 9th grade, which was last year.
Okay.
So I started Lorena Theater just last year.
Okay, cool. And so, have you always had that interest to doing theater?
Yes, I did theater at my old school as well. I only started having interest in doing theater whenever I used to also like hate musicals and kind of just like not like plays that much.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was this one summer whenever I was like 13 and I watched Hamilton for the first time, and that's whenever I started liking theater because I thought that was really fun.
Yeah, and I mean, theater, there's a lot of cool things that are involved in theater, you know, going on stage and performing. So would you say you're more in favor of the musical type, or are you more the favor of like going and doing a tragedy on stage?
I'm more of the, like, me personally, I would rather go into a musical because I feel like it's such a fun experience. And Elektra is my first tragedy, and it's not a horrible experience or something, but I feel like I just have more fun in the musical genre.
Of course. And so your views on theater, I mean, theater's competitive. You know that. I mean, you can go on stage, they chant like in Austin for 6 days, their musicals and shows, they compete. And so do you view theater as a competitive like thing, and does it challenge you to grow as an actress?
I don't really see it as competitive usually, because my first time doing theater as like a competitive thing was literally this season, like it's literally Elektra. So the only time I've really seen it as competitive is this season in theater. Which is actually kind of eye-opening because now I'm thinking, oh wait, we may not win and stuff. Whenever back with Clue, I didn't have to think any of those things. Back in Clue, I was just like, oh, the audience is gonna love this. I didn't really have to worry about anything. But like now I'm thinking like we have to make top 3. So
of course,
yeah, it's eye-opening.
And so yeah, there's several rounds in UIO. You go from district by district to area to regions and then state. Now, how all that process works is 3 advance until you get to region. Only 2 go to state out of 9 schools competing. Now, that's tough competition. And so, like I asked Jacob a couple minutes ago earlier, how would you say the show is in a good spot right now to go far? Or does your whole cast even view on wanting to go far, or are you just trying to go out there and put on good content?
I feel like for now, like at the exact point that we're at, we could definitely use more rehearsals. But I feel like once we put in more rehearsals and once we perform, maybe we'll be like much better. Because I remember in Clue at first, our director was like, "Oh yeah, it's great," but like whenever we actually performed in front of like an audience, he was like, "That was like really, really good. That was better than any rehearsal that y'all did." So I'm thinking that maybe that'll happen again. Like once we perform in front of all the classes and stuff, maybe we'll do better. Or maybe it'll be different since we're performing in front of our classmates only, instead of like how in Clue we performed in front of people that actually paid money to be there. But this time we're performing in front of like people that have teachers that want them to go there. So I don't know how it's gonna.
And when do you think that the like energy from the crowd, especially for a comedy, and when you play a comedy, you got to make sure those jokes land, or if the audience doesn't laugh, then it becomes boring. So do you think the audience gives you guys more energy to actually, hey, this is the real thing. It's time to go. I mean, it's wait till district comes around. You're going to be on that stage and you're going to go, okay, it's actually real now. We're being judged here, but Clue wasn't being judged. So do you think that the energy from the audience helps you guys as like on stage feel more comfortable with yourselves, or do you feel that? What do you feel on your views on that?
I don't know, like back in Clue, whenever we first went on stage and there was an audience, I wasn't really thinking that I was more comfortable. Maybe I was, but like what I was thinking is that like I have to like nail this. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that was me being more comfortable, but like that was just me wanting to do well.
And so yeah, and you know, as actors and actresses develop and through this whole process, you know, they learn new things. I remember when we had Jennifer Paden here, she taught us that you got to be comfortable with yourself. You got to get in the role. I mean, theater's hard to get into in the big world. You know, it's a challenge, and you got to put your heart and soul into it. So that does lead us to your views on Lorena Theater Department and in Lorena in general. Do you feel you have a good community that surrounds you behind your back, and do you think that all the students that are in the theater program you build a good friendship and relationship with?
Well, I am only like starting to know them now because last year, my friends from last year, like I only had like a few, and then I'm making a lot of new ones this year. Yeah. So like, I don't know if I could like trust fall onto them because I've only known them for like 2 seconds, but like I feel like that we are building a good relationship. And I mean, you know, big thing when you do a cast, it's family. Everyone knows each other. You know, we've done things where we sat around, and cast bonding is a huge thing in theater. And my question for you here is that obviously one act is going on right now. You have the show Elektra. Jacob, you can even tie on this answer if you want. But do you think that the show itself being revamped the way it is, because Elektra is an original Greek tragedy, is revamped, do you think people are going to understand it? Do you think it's going to be something that audiences are going to enjoy, or do you think it's going to be something that is just going to go forward? I feel like whenever we go to competition, we'll be performing in front of theater kids and judges and people that know theater. So I feel like they would understand it. But I feel like whenever we're performing in front of our school, I feel like they'll have they'll be a little more closed-minded to watching it.
They'll treat it like a comedy. they'll treat it like we'll hear laughs and parts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I feel like especially the boys, they're gonna like, they'll take any. I feel like they'll just have trouble, but I feel like there are some people at our school that would actually maybe take it seriously. Mm-hmm. It just depends on your maturity level.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, but you know, it's overall being on this podcast, and everyone that's been on it so far has told us the process is a great process. One act going on, when you actually get to go on stage and receive that you're going on, your mindset and everything changes.
Yeah, I've never been on stage.
It's so when you're gonna experience it, when you get on stage for us, how we've done it is that we've had times of the heart. We only had like almost barely 4 weeks to put this thing together. Lorena went through that shift change. We were just picking a show. We got it done, and we moved on to Bi District. We went on, and we were on stage like this. Like, what? No way. We actually did this. And getting on that stage, receiving that, hey, now knowing, hey, we can go far with this show. It's just you got to put on good content, and you got to be focused and locked in during that. And it's the same thing with band. Yeah. I mean, band, you have to concentrate and be in that moment. I mean, when we marching season, Jacob, we got 5th. One spot away from going to state, and that was, and actually a lot of people don't know, that was by like around 4 points of difference, and it was
to our rivals.
I know, and so, but I mean that's fine. I mean now you guys are obviously, I'm graduating this year, and you guys are kind of footsteps to further in the theater program wherever you decide to go. Next year's 4A. It changes everything. You have a huge competitive rounds next year. Things get more. I'm not saying. I mean, it gets harder as you go on now, moving up. So you're going against some really good theater groups and stuff. And so overall, this year, though, we're finishing up in 3A. Elektra, what would you, if anything, would you want to see, what particular show would you want to see Lorena to put on? Or a show that you might be interested in seeing Mr. Kirby might direct further? Maybe it's a fall show or even for a one act.
Well, it's not just like fall shows. He is already flirting with the idea of doing a Flirting with the idea, yeah. It sounds like something you would say. I don't know why you're laughing. I'm gonna call you out, Ingonwi. He's already romanticizing with the idea of doing a musical.
Okay.
And
He's
so
not. He hates musicals.
okay, well he said it. He went up to me and he said, "If you have any idea for a
Did
musical."
he tell you to tell anybody else this?
No. He said, if you have any idea for a musical we could do, tell me.
Oh,
and
I
so
have an idea for him.
No. And so what I told him is that you're probably gonna say like Cats or something. I told him that we should do A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder.
Oh my gosh, Jacob! I'm
saw it.
leaving this school.
I saw it this summer. It's because you're gonna get a minor role. I know. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, for a fall show, since the fall shows are usually by Halloween and stuff, I thought that Beetlejuice or something would be fun.
See, now that would be cool too to do. I mean, we did Adam's Family.
I want to be Enid. I mean, not Enid.
You want to do Wednesday? That's what you're saying. You would not be.
Not Wednesday.
You would not be Enid.
I said Beetlejuice. Wednesday's not in Beetlejuice.
No, you said Enid like from Wednesday.
No. Oh my gosh. Wait.
And so getting to bring that art to, to people who have never or not have any interest in theater, but then they're going to be like, wow, these kids have done a lot of hard work. And I want to say all three of you guys and everybody else that's part of the Lorena theater production and stuff this year for Elektra has done so much hard work so far. And they're proud. I think you guys should be proud of how much work you guys put into this show. I mean, you're messing with something that is interesting to bring back. I mean, Greek Tragedy, this is a revamped version. It's brand new. It's never been introduced to one act. I mean, maybe one or twice it's gone. But how do you think this show, do you think it's going to go far? I mean, obviously, it's newer. Do you think more audiences will enjoy it?
I would say so, yeah. I mean, there's no, promise of us going far, but I think it's such a good show, and I feel like it'll really just, catch the eye of a lot of people, and I think it's just really interesting, and it'll just be a really good show.
Of course. And so, this does not leave me. Mr. Kirby is not here, obviously, but from this podcast alone, it shows that you have a strong, talented individuals here at Lorena Theater Production Team and program and much more. You guys are going to go do some amazing shows in the future. I mean, I know Lorena's possibly heard about expanding fine arts hallways and building Lorena even bigger, assuming obviously it might not be the time when you guys are going to be you'll be graduated, but for especially freshmen and stuff, they're going to see some new Lorena being formed. I mean, it's now a 4A, so theater changes next year. That does now remind me, 4A next year. You guys are competing another round up with some really tough competition. But that should not change at all. You guys are going to still go and put out good theater. What does that feel like? Does it put more challenge on for you guys? Does it make you guys better actors?
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Excited?
Something new.
Yeah.
New challenge.
I'm tired of going to the same schools. So.
Yeah.
I know, right? And I mean, 9 schools this year we're competing against. Only 3 advanced.
Dang.
And puts a little pressure
We're
on
going to
it.
be those 3.
Hey, let's go. And so, acting is like a sport. On stage, you must be ready to move like a tennis player technically on your shoes. I mean, you got to concentrate, keep yourself focused, reflexes to be sharp, your body and mind, and on top of gear. And I mean, overall, acting is energy. You want to go put on good entertainment for others. And in theater, people want to see energy and be entertained. And I believe Elektra is going to be an exciting and thrilling show that people are really going to like. And I mean, it's just for everyone. I believe everyone should go out and support these talents and support these individuals and all their hard work they've done. They've worked their butt off, and you guys should go out and see them at District March 19th at Rockdale ISD, and then hopefully further than would be TIG ISD and more. Really quick, I want to say thank you guys for watching this podcast. Thank you for the Elektra cast for being here. We have more episodes coming along. Keep an eye on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. And I appreciate you guys stopping by, and we'll see you next time.